It's easy with an anti-grav waistcoat. I'm David.
I'm Kirby.
And I'm Katie.
Welcome to issue 189 of the Crimson Cowl Comic Club podcast. Each and every week, we meet here to talk about comics. We won't have a club discussion segment this week, but here's our upcoming lineup in the weeks to come. July 24th, we'll cover The Batman and Scooby-Doo Mysteries #4. And then out to August 7th, it'll be Berserker #4. In this episode, we'll talk about the books we've been reading in our weekly reviews. And then over in the letters page segment, in honor of the new Space Jam movie, you have to enter a team of any fictional characters into a 3-on-3 basketball tournament. With 3 characters making up your team, which 3 would they be? Then in our news segment, we're going to have part 1 of our previews preview with Marvel and DC Comics, the July catalogs for products coming out in September and beyond. So we'll kick it off with our weekly reviews. First up, I have an Elseworlds title, Justice League: The Nail. This is one, I heard about this and it took me forever to read it. And the whole idea behind this, I guess to start off, for people who aren't familiar with Elseworlds, they're kind of like the equivalent of Marvel's What If, where it's, kind of you put the characters in a different situation. And this particular one just kind of asks kind of this what if question of what if something had happened that prevented Jonathan and Martha Kent from arriving and finding baby Kal-El when he crashed. And so in this case, it was a nail. They're starting to leave the farm and they got a nail in the tire. And so they decided, we don't need to change it. It wasn't that important that we leave the house. So they stayed home to fool around a little bit instead. So therefore, they never find it. So this is just covering issue 1. And in this issue, we don't know if somebody else did find, the ship or whatever. That's not really covered. What is covered is what the world is like at this point without Superman, how that affected the formation of the Justice League and heroes and everything. Lex Luthor is the mayor of Metropolis, and he's actually running for president. He wasn't very popular at first because there was, he was running stuff as sort of a police state type thing, but then he began running on this anti-metahuman campaign, which he found a way to make that become a popular thing. And so a lot of the metahumans, the superheroes, and non-superhumans, vigilantes like Batman, who don't have any powers, they're kind of talking about why this campaign is so popular, and are people right to hate and fear the masked vigilantes and the metahumans and the aliens? Should they be operating this way? Should they be unmasked and in the light? Questions like that. We do have some things that like Oliver Queen, who's actually speaking out against the Justice League, and that comes about because, just like in The Dark Knight Returns, he loses an arm. In this case, I think he loses the use of his legs as well, but this is in a battle with Amazo. Hawkman is killed. Green Arrow is severely injured. He loses an eye, he loses an arm, he can't walk, and he becomes very bitter against the Justice League. Even though they offered, all this help and everything, he refused it all. Black Canary formed the Outsiders as a way for Green Arrow to continue to be not in the Justice League, but he figured he could do kind of lead from behind the scenes, but he felt he was just a mascot to the team and left. But he speaks out against all these superheroes, and so it causes all these other characters and teams and everything to start questioning, is he right? Is he wrong? And is there some, they go into this conspiracy theory that somebody is actually like behind this whole thing, to put down the metahumans. We also find out that there's some other things going on. Green Lantern discovers that there's a force field surrounding the entire Earth, and that's caused some problems. So it's really what's going on here, really. And would any of this ever happen had there been a Superman? But it's again just the first part. I think this is it's actually a 3-part story. So I have not read the other 2 parts yet. I don't know where it goes and what happens. I just know that the Nail is a story that I've heard about for many, many years, and finally decided it was time to check it out. So that's DC's Elseworlds Justice League The Nail. And we'll head over to Kirby next, who's got a Gen 13, right?
Yeah, Gen 13 science fiction. This one, the Gen 13 gang loved overhyped blockbuster science fiction movies just as much as the rest of us. So when an opportunity arises to see a re-release of one such treasured moment from their youth, they jump at it. Unbeknownst to them, however, some of the cuddly little critters seen on screen and in licensed products galore actually exist, and they come to claim Caitlin Fairchild as their queen. Tom Simmons, Matt Haley, they're all in here. Simmons, Haley, and Lepresti. I didn't really catch it when I read it that the creatures came from the movie, because they were working their way into the movie, so they didn't actually get in there. And the creatures that did come and take her away are, I can get a better picture than that. They're kind of like little Jawa type characters that sneak up on her and take her away. And they never show the movie screen or anything because they're still out getting their candy and their popcorn. She goes off to the bathroom, and that's when she gets kidnapped by these little characters. And I'm trying to get into Gen 13. I got a bunch of their comics and trade paperbacks, but every time I read it, it just doesn't really pull me in that much. This could not be done this day and age with society the way it is, because it's very sexist. Lots of things they do they just shouldn't have back then. But yeah, these characters are kind of, well, she gets taken. 2 characters jump in to, grab a hold of one of the Jawa characters and get transported into their same world. And they have like little special gauntlets on their wrist that throw them into their super suits. Well, he accidentally took some girl's wrist thing instead of his, and he ended up wearing her outfit. So it's all goofy looking on him. I mean, it shows it better there, where he's got his little warrior boots or moccasins, and then he's wearing this spandex outfit that's one of the girls from Gen 13 are supposed to be wearing. But they go there, try and save her. This overlord, he's basically controls all these Jawa looking characters, and there are regular humans on that planet also. So I don't understand why he's an overlord over just those characters, because the way it sounds, he controls the whole planet. But some of the humans must be like hiding off area away from his main castle or whatever you want to call it. And then there are a few that are like normal looking characters with armor put on, normal human characters. But those are like the high level security guards that go after him because the other ones were getting beat up. And then they keep going on to the point that she was chosen because she matched up some type of matchmaking thing with him. He's perfect. She's perfect. A perfect match for a dating match. So the reason he had her brought to his realm is because she was going to be his next wife. Apparently he's had like 30 some wives, and puts them through this little warrior battle that they have to go through to prove themselves to be his wife after he's already kidnapped them. It's like, then you find out later on who this character is that's in the armor that ends up kidnapping these women and stuff. And he ends up being a big comic book style geek and wants autographs and all this type of thing from the characters. I just, yeah, this is a little too over the top for me. I'm still trying, but I'm just not getting pulled into these Gen 13 ones. But if you like that little sci-fi movie crossover, going to another realm, have a warlord kidnap someone to make him his new bride, and then some people go to try and help and save him, and there's some of his other brides that are set aside, I guess, in case she doesn't follow through or whatever. But yeah, this could definitely not be written today. So
Gen 13 is one of those things that I never really got into either. I think I read probably the first couple of issues when they first came out from Image initially, and I really don't even remember that much about them. But they've been around. I have a number of Gen 13 like crossover books that I just haven't gotten around to reading. And then I know a number of those characters were brought over into DC right around New 52 time. So some of them have appeared in other things, but they haven't had like a proper Gen 13 book or anything as far as I'm aware. And I really don't know that much about it. And I've never even really had enough interest to like make myself get into it. And so I don't know if it's something that's really good or, not.
I've only tried a few so far, and I mainly got them because I like the look of some of the characters that I've seen. But then once I found out the abilities and stuff, it just didn't really grab me.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those teams that originated in the 90s with the launch of Image and all those types of teams where, everyone wanted to be the X-Men and just all the stuff. And
That's what I totally got from kind of a more goofy, troublesome X-Men style characters.
Yeah, there were just so many of those books out there that, I couldn't get into all of them. Several of them I tried. And just
X.
I stuck with the original.
Yep. Same here. I will give a couple more a try, but yeah.
Okay, so I guess next up we got Katie with a Woodstock tribute comic. Now, Katie, is this Snoopy's sidekick, or is this peace, love, baked hippies?
It's the peace and love. Yeah, a few months ago, Kirby brought in this comic, and I thought it sounded really cool, so I went out and bought it. Marvel put out a Woodstock tribute comic honoring the 1969 and 1994 concerts. The idea is aliens from a society in the future travel back in time to visit and experience both concerts. The whole comic's pretty funny. It's a lot of fun. I really like that music, and I find the history around that concert just very interesting. And I really enjoyed it. I had a good time reading it. It made me smile. It made me laugh. Yeah, I just thought it was pretty cool, a cool way to present that history in a way that is still exciting and interesting for a comic. If I could go back in time, I'd certainly like to visit the Woodstock concert. I think that would have been just really fun. Maybe once in a generation, who knows, type of event. and it was published by Marvel. It's definitely for mature readers because there's like, if you know the concept, there's a lot of nudity and adult content. But I enjoyed it. It was really fun. Just kind of cool that they did it. This is the Woodstock tribute comic from Marvel Comics. Check it out and rock on.
All right. So the next thing I have is the Avengers Terminatrix Objective comic. This was a mini series back in, I forget what year. It's another 90s thing. You can always tell from those hollow foil covers and all those gimmicky things that they put on just any number one, even if it was a number one from a mini series or something like that. Now, I will do this without being all spoilery and stuff. Have either of you seen the Loki series on Disney Plus?
Yeah, I'm about halfway through.
Okay, and I won't spoil it just
Yeah.
for any people who listen or watch this and haven't seen it, whatever. But this is interesting, and I kept coming across this in my collection as I've been going through things and whatever, and I decided to pick it up, and then I realized that what I had here is it's very Disney Plus like. We have John Walker's U.S. Agent, and then we have a few characters mentioned or in this book that actually do appear in the Loki Disney Plus series. So it's a good time to read something like this because you're getting these characters that you're seeing in shows like Falcon and the Winter Soldier or Loki. And of course, you got War Machine too. So you get a number of things where you're going through, and some of these are characters that aren't like really well known, except for like major Marvel fans who have read a lot of stuff like this. It does involve some time things, and but really it's a book where you get together Thunderstrike, US Agent, and War Machine, who were like replacement versions of Thor, Captain America, and Iron Man. Of course, they had all taken over those roles at one point, but then when the other character came back, they sort of were maybe you could say downgraded to these other ones. They took on these new names, and so there are definitely people who like these characters, but they never were as big as the originals. So in this one, they're kind of, these three characters are plucked from some point in time and taken to an unspecified point in time or in between time or whatever. So it gets really confusing when you have that time thing where some things happen outside of time and some like out of time realm along the time stream. So these three characters are there. And then this first issue ends with somebody deciding to fight fire with fire by, they go, hey, I'll get some Avengers of my own. And so leading up to actual Captain America, Iron Man, and Thor being plucked out as well to stop the B team here. So, but books like this, I haven't looked at value. I know that there was a number of books that went up in value as these Disney Plus shows have come out. And it wouldn't surprise me if this one did. I think these were like, kind of a dime a dozen type comics where you'd see them all over the place, in any one of those back issue sales or whatever you'd come across comics like this. So it'd be interesting to see, how this is done, but I haven't been curious enough to check yet. But I decided to pick it up, and I went, oh yeah, it's this character's in there and that character's in there, and I am all caught up on all of those shows. So seeing that, I'm like, oh yeah, and some of the characters even in the show, I kind of forgot who they were in the comics, and yeah, I'd sit there and think, do I know this person? I think that character is, straight out of the Marvel comics, um, but I didn't want to risk any spoilers by looking it up and whatever to see, and then after reading this, yes, that's who that is. I knew this person. I knew it was familiar, but this comic gives a number of those characters in there. So it's fun to go back and read stuff like this if you are a comic book fan, and if you have watched any of these shows, going back and finding some of the comics that had these characters, even some of the more minor characters. It's kind of fun to go back and look at them and see them in their comic book form. So again, that's Avengers, the Terminatrix objective #1. And yeah, if you got an interest in any of those shows or these characters, check this out. I think it'd be pretty easy to find if the value hasn't skyrocketed.
Yeah, I got at least one copy, so I'm gonna have to definitely check to see if it has gone up.
Yeah, and I think I have that whole run. I gotta look. There's a number of comics that I'm missing. I'd grabbed them from sales. Some of them I got from stuff that was from you originally. Some are from various sales. That the comics that I recovered after we closed the store that were mine, that I pulled out somewhere from there, but others from other sales that I went to. Some were while we were looking for back issues for the store or whatever, and I kind of collected stuff when there were doubles and things like that. So
That was part of a 4-issue run, wasn't it?
that one was this 3 or this one might have been a 4-issue run. Oh yeah, this one was 4 issues.
Yeah, I thought so because I remember seeing the.
Yeah, now that I think of it, I might be missing one because I think I might only have 3 issues of this. So now we'll see maybe if the price hasn't jumped up on this for some reason. And I don't think it's a huge thing, with any of these characters or whatever. There is one character that I think that might have been used in one of these shows that might be a first appearance.
Crocoloki.
But I don't know if it's I don't know if it's big enough of a deal for that to really make any difference or not. So, but we'll see. Back over to you, Kirby. Next up, you get a Full Moon Presents.
Yep.
Is this? Well, I'll let you talk about it. But Trancers, is that like movie Trancers?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, these are all based from the normal movies and everything like that, with Jack Death from Dollman, Trancers, one of my favorite characters in the Full Moon universe. But Jack Death is back, and he's out for blood. In 1985, the cult sci-fi film Trancers captivated audiences and introduced the world to Jack Death, a rogue trooper in post-apocalyptic Los Angeles, who is sent back in time to track down Whistler, a vicious cult leader with the power to turn people into mindless zombies. In this all-new and action-packed graphic novel, Jack has been framed for murder. With the help of his new wave girlfriend, Lena, Jack must escape from prison and clear his name. But when Whistler turns the entire prison population into Trancers, Jack and Lena may not live long enough to care. Now, when I started reading this, I screwed up because I haven't watched a lot of these Full Moon movies since the 90s, and I was thinking Trancers, Scanners. So when I seen all these zombie characters in here, I'm like, oh, what the heck's with the zombies? Because Scanners, I don't know if you know, is the one where their brain gets the loud noise and it just keeps getting louder and louder and their heads explode. But so I thought that's what this was, especially with having a character that mind controls all the other characters. So that's, but yeah, I screwed that up. I know the character in there kind of looks like Jack Death too, so that's why I always screw those two up. But downfall about this, I love the story. I like seeing Trancers. You kind of get Jack Death on the back of here character, but this character that they drew in here does not look at all like Jack Death. And I could understand if they're like doing a remake movie or something, they're preparing for it. But no, this was done a long time ago. And it's based off that movie, and this character doesn't look like Jack Death at all. So it's confusing to me when I'm reading it and you looking at him alongside other characters. And he just looks like a normal prison guard type. So that's him when he's stuck in the jail and stuff. But yeah, he gets arrested because he's talking about all this stuff and kills a couple characters. And so they arrest him for that, and he's trying to explain to him the one character was a cop, that's why he got arrested for that one. And then all the cops in prison just keep using him and treating him like crap because he's a cop killer. And along the way he's trying to explain what's going on, and then all of a sudden all the prison population turns into zombies. And so then the cops are like, okay, well, we're still going to keep you handcuffed. Well, he could help them out and stuff, and instead of getting bitten and they're getting turned and all that stuff's going on. It's just one big riot going throughout the prison, as you can imagine. If you're stuck in a prison riot, you're pretty much screwed anyways. There's not many places for you to go. So they deal with it. They fight through everything, do what they can. And the character that's mind controlling everybody, he's got a variety of powers, because I can't find it in here now. I just had it a second ago, but yeah, he can, for some reason, he's got a flying ability, and then he's controlling these people from quite a distance and stuff. But I don't know how Whistler originally got his abilities, or how it pertains to the original movie, because it's been so long since I watched the damn thing. If I wouldn't have been thinking I was reading a Scanner's book, I would have probably went back and watched the Trancers movie before I read this, just to give myself a little update on it. But it was written by Justin Gray and Jimmy Palmiotti, which has done quite a few other things that I've read. And they did a great job with the storyline. This could make a great secondary movie with the zombie outbreak and this character being able to use that ability and stuff. But yeah, it was basically based off 3 comics originally, because that's all that's in here to make up the whole trade paperback. But the majority of the story is all in the prison, so you don't really get much outside except for a little bit of pre-show before he gets arrested, and then he befriends a prison guard in the prison, and she helps along the way try and get him out. And she's yelling at the other cops like, uncuff him, you idiots. He can at least give us a hand. Once he finally does get uncuffed, of course, he does help out, but by then it's too late for the cops that had him cuffed, because they've already been bitten. So, but yeah, I don't want to give away how he finishes it off and all that stuff, but this could definitely make a good secondary transfer story. But I still got to go back and rewatch the other one to get a refresh on it. But yeah, Full Moon's always fun. Just goofy horror.
All right, so what I've got next isn't actually a comic, but it is very much related, and it is in book form. And I just grabbed one of them, but it's the official handbook of the Marvel Universe. There are several volumes of these, but I will often talk about getting people who are new to comics, what can they do to learn a little bit more about characters and stuff. these days you can go on the internet and look at all these wiki pages and everything and basically find the information. But the old school way of doing it was to pick up a copy of the official handbook of the Marvel Universe, or for DC, it would be Who's Who, things like that. And you would, you know, if you're looking for somebody in particular, you could go to the handy dandy contents and artists page in here. Otherwise, you just start flipping through and, you see some of your favorite characters that you hadn't heard of before the MCU came along, like Claw, who looks completely different here than he does in his movie version. You got Misty Knight, minus the metal arm. You can go through and just so many different characters. Some of them I have no idea who these characters are. But you can go and learn a little bit more about characters. You don't know who Magneto is. You can look in here and wonder, why is he wearing this weird outfit here instead of the one with the helmet and the bucket and everything else that we know. Maybe you liked Black Panther and you'd like to know a little bit more about Manape, also who looks quite a bit different than his movie counterpart. So these were always really neat for me to look at when I was first getting into comic books, and I wanted to learn who these characters were in the Marvel universe and then over in the DC universe. So I would do things like this. I would get the trading cards that would have the little things about the characters and stuff like that. You could get these are unopened ones, but you could get packs like this that would be supplemental information, things like stuff about costumes and things like that. And you could put these into binders. And I don't know where my Marvel one is. I did grab a DC one just to show, you'd throw stuff in a binder and you could have them all like arranged however you wanted to, and flip it open and learn about your favorite characters or not favorite characters, characters that you read a little bit about in passing and you didn't know who they were, so you could just get some of this stuff and find out, who are these characters and why do I want to read about them. So DC had their own version, Marvel had their version. Again, multiple volumes, so you don't get one volume and expect to read alphabetically every character in the Marvel universe, but you'd be surprised at how many you actually do get to read about as you look through and and find out who Mad Dog or Multiple Man are. But again, now it's not quite as fun, because you're not collecting the stuff and whatever. Again, this stuff's all available nowadays on various wiki pages. They got Marvel wiki pages and DC wiki pages and all these things that basically will give you the same kind of information. I still like to go through and find the older ones because it's interesting now to go back and read about these characters back then. For example, they have the Purple Man, who you might know of. If you were a fan of the Netflix Marvel stuff, Kilgrave, and you read back on here and it's like, at that time he was a character that nobody knew or cared about because the Alias comics weren't out, and stuff like that. Nobody really knew who he was or probably cared. At the time that one came out, he had been killed off. So it's kind of fun to go back and go, where were these characters at back here when this came out in 1988 or whatever it came in. So I still find them fun to go through and look at. But again, if you're a new reader and you're trying to find some information, not sure who these characters are, yeah, you can just go online and read them. But if you really want to be entertained, go back and find the old, official handbook to the Marvel Universe, or DC's Who's Who's, and read those old versions, and it'll be entertaining. All right. I think we just got one more book to talk about. We're running out of things for this week. All we got left are the spare parts, I think, right?
Yes, that's all we do, and they're sad. Sad and few between. But this is Spare Parts. It's a one-shot from Behemoth Comics. It says Fully Reloaded on the top. I was trying to look online to see if I could find anything about some type of spare parts movie or one or something series or something from back in the day. But all I see is a spare parts movie that was done with 4 Hispanic high school students in a robotics club. So that's not this. This is 4 people in a club, a band, 4 girls that are just out and about doing a music gig. They get done with the gig. They sit outside. They do some selling of some merch out of their band. And here's when they're playing, they just got all kinds of guys jumping on the stage, harassing them. And they're just beating the crap out of them, throwing them off the stage. They get out and do their merch sales, and they get harassed by a few idiots out there and stuff. Then they find out one girl's pregnant, and her lover jumps on the guy that comes near her and beats the crap out of him and yells, "Don't touch a pregnant woman." And the rest of the band finds out about that. Then as they're driving off, one of the characters is all hitting on one of the girls, decides to sideswipe their van. It disables their van, and he takes off. The cop shows up with a wrecker. They get the van on a wrecker. The guy can take one girl in the wrecker. The cop decides to take the other 3 girls with him, take them to the junkyard, salvage yard, to get their rig fixed. And she goes off with the wrecker guy. He's kind of like a Leatherface type looking character that she has to hop in with. So he kind of gives you some signs right off the bat. But they get there and they're sitting in the waiting room. And you just so happen to see off to the side that the guy that sideswiped him has his exhaust hooked up to some hoses going into the waiting room. And that's why the waiting room's kind of turning green in the windows there. They get gassed out and knocked out. And next thing they know, they wake up to some little operations happening to their body parts. And they get their arms cut in half, some legs get cut off, and get replaced with some different type of hardware, some weaponry and stuff. And they get stuck in this arena in the center of a auto salvage yard, and it's just basically a fighting arena, and they're surrounded by people that are yelling all these different chants about, I don't know, something about blood in the earth, and the blood brings back something. What the heck were they reading? We give our blood to the dirt. They're all screaming, and then they just put a lineup of characters out there that they give some weaponry to that don't have weapons for limbs themselves, but they're obviously drugged up and thinking they're doing the right thing, and they go into battle against the girls, and the battle ensues. They got to try and survive. The guy's like, well, you can either, if you don't want, they don't want to fight, but they're told by the guy, if you don't fight, you're going to be tossed. You're going to be killed anyways. And then they're worried about the pregnant lady, and they find out they don't really have to worry about that anymore. Because there's operations of all that stuff. This is a terrible book. I expected better. I expected a good cross between Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, the Quentin Tarantino and what's his name, the Grindhouse style comics.
Rodriguez.
Rodriguez. And you get that in here, but it's very short. They do not focus on any story going into the operations. They could have totally made this a simple 4-comic run and made it a decent comic. This instead should have been coming up with Free Comic Book Day as an example of something that might come out in the future. I mean, it is a one-shot, so it's supposed to end it, but it doesn't end it. You get very little of there's the actual arena of crushed cars that they built so they could hide the battle in there.
Maybe it should be reloaded again.
Yeah, it's just so quick, so unexplained. There's no finish or anything. They have that one little battle going on, and then the comic ends. And it's like, okay, and then you see this, which is a teaser. That's why I was checking to a possible movie coming out. Let the battle begin. So I'm guessing this is a precursor to an upcoming Netflix film or something that they're going to do. I mean, it has to be, because this was not at all what it should have been for a one-shot, but it could have been a way better story if they would have made it a 4-issue run. But yeah, hey, I'll watch the movie if it comes out and stuff like that. But yeah, it's even the girls when they're laying it, the one wakes up and she's got her arm cut off and she's like, what did you do to me? No screaming, nothing. It's like, really? I'd be kicking, screaming, trying to get off the thing, the gurney, and try and find out what the hell is going on. But they just seemed all okay with it. Next thing you know, they're in the arena.
That kind of thing happens to them all the time.
Yep.
So of all the comics about all the girl bands that something happened to, I mean, I feel like you've read some comics before that's the whole thing is it's a band, girls, they go out, something happens to them, and here it is. So it's right up your alley, but this one wasn't quite up to par.
Just didn't have enough to it. I want more in depth.
All right. Well, I think that that does it for our weekly reviews. This would be the point in the podcast where Anthony would stop the recording and wait and double check and make sure that everything's going good, and then we go on to the next part, which would be the letters page. So we'll go right into the letters page with a welcome to the letters page. And as I stated before, because there's a new Space Jam, because why wouldn't there be? In honor of that, we're all going to pick a 3-person fictional character team to play horse hockey or whatever it was that we were doing, basketball. Anybody want to go first? I could go first. It's easy, I go Ego the Living Planet to block the goal from the other team. Superman is the pitcher, and I go with Ash from Evil Dead and Army of Darkness to slap his teammates' butts, because you got to have somebody that slaps their butts, right? That's a sports thing. The only he has either the chainsaw or the metal hand to do it with, and there you go. That's my 3 people sports team of some sort.
Did you want to go, Katie, or?
Oh, sure, I'll go. I'm gonna get a whole bunch of Loki variants together, and I'm gonna have a tryout, and then whoever does the best is gonna be on my basketball team. So just get a whole bunch of Loki variants.
There weren't any write-ins this week. Anthony didn't give us his picks.
Anthony does. I thought I'd save that, but I can insert it.
Well, yeah, I'll go first. That's fine. I'll go first. My captain of my team. I mean, you got to have a catcher, a goalie, a field goal kicker, I guess. But like David said, but Squirrel Girl would be my captain, of course, because speed and agility of a squirrel, and she can do that 360 turn instantly, and she'd be perfect for the court.
She can beat anybody, you know.
Yeah, she can jump high. She can smack him in the tail. She can steal the ball with her tail. She can knock it away. And then you'd have Miss Marvel in there because stretch ability and all that. She can be the rebounder, the defensive player. So you got to have a good defensive player on the team. And then Nightcrawler, of course. I mean, he just flash in and out and it's boom, boom. I mean, you'd have like 300 points per quarter or period or inning or you call it. but yeah, Squirrel Girl, Miss Marvel, and Nightcrawler. I think we could take the whole Looney Tunes team down, no problem.
Okay, so this is Anthony's answer. Anthony's answer.
Kermit the Frog.
No, but you're close. There is a Muppet. Okay. Kitty Pryde as point guard. So she can phase through the opponents, but only 3 times in a game, so she doesn't feel like she's cheating. Tony the Tiger as his power forward because he's great. And Sweetums from the Muppets as his center for massive dunks, blocks, rebounds, and driving the girls wild with his charismatic movie star looks.
Now, did he put all those basketball references in there? Because he must have done some serious research to figure out all those positions and stuff.
Yeah, I don't even know what a point guard is.
Yeah, I know. As much as he hates sports, I think I'm turning them with my sports side of my podcast.
I don't even know what a point guard would do. They like protect your team from getting points. That doesn't
and point where to go, where the ball's at.
Yeah. So there we go. And we put all those characters together, and just we'd have like a real hell of a football team. Wait, Space Jam is, what is that again?
Soccer or something?
Cricket.
Like that? Space Jam, wouldn't that be a Quidrick type thing? Harry Potter.
Oh yeah. There you go. You know, that would be entertaining to watch, kind of like a Looney Tunes Quidditch match.
Yeah, that would be more interesting than a basketball.
All right. Well, it looks like we've temporarily lost Katie. Let me let her back in here. All right. So, all right. Now I guess we go on to our next segment, because that was sports, which normally has absolutely no place on this podcast whatsoever, unless it's somebody's reviewing a wrestling related comic book. Then that sometimes will find its way into it. So now we'll go over to the news. This is where Anthony inserts his and now the news thing, and then we jump right into it and say, welcome to the news. This week is again part 1 of our preview, and those of us who have looked at the previews, myself would not be included into that, can discuss what our picks are for Marvel and a DC. So let's start with Marvel. Anybody have any Marvel picks for July? And again, this is stuff that's coming out in September and after September.
I really screwed up here.
I'll get started. Okay, so with Marvel, Of course, I'll do a club pick if we get it. I am all on the Star Wars War of the Bounty Hunters train. Talked about it several times, so I'm going to keep talking about it because I'm having a ton of fun with Star Wars War of the Bounty Hunters. It's the summer event. If you've been, waiting a few issues to see if it's good, it's good. Go check it out. It's a bunch of fun. So that's going to be Star Wars War of the Bounty Hunters, number 4 of 5.
All right. I'm so out of date on this stuff. I don't even know what Star Wars stuff there is. War of the Bounty
Okay.
Hunters. That's how long of a series is that?
Sure, I'm happy to tell you about it. So, War of the Bounty Hunters is, well, technically 6 issues, but it's it's 5 issues and then an alpha issue. So we did the prelude to the War of the Bounty Hunters in May, and now we're squarely in the event. It's running through October right now. They might extend it, but right now it's through October. The premise is it's between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. So Boba Fett has Han Solo, and he's supposed to take him to Jabba the Hutt. But what they're covering is what happens in that year between the 2 movies, and everybody is out looking for Han Solo because he's the big prize. Jabba's got a lot of money. The Empire is not happy with him, so all the different bounty hunters are trying to get in and race to see who can get to Han Solo first. And someone actually kidnaps him from Boba Fett. Right, he's frozen in carbonite. Someone kidnaps Han Solo in carbonite, and that kicks off the war. Slight spoilers. It's been out for a while, so the Crimson Dawn crime syndicate that we see in the Clone Wars and the Solo movie comes back in a really big way for this event, and they're trying to get a hold of Han Solo as well. It's covering the 2020 titles, so we have Dr. Aphra, just the main Star Wars line, Darth Vader, and the Bounty Hunters comic. So from the Bounty Hunters comic, we have mostly it's been Balance and Dengar so far. Dr. Aphra, we have Dr. Chelly Lona Aphra and Sana Starros. The Star Wars comic is a lot of Lando focus and Lobot, and then Darth Vader is of course about Darth Vader. So they're all coming together, and in this week's issue, actually, they all got together at like a party that was also going to be an auction. So we'll see how that plays out. And of course, we have the big guy himself, Boba Fett, getting in everywhere. The series opens with him at like a gladiator battle, which was awesome. Like, even if you don't want to read the whole series, go check out that alpha issue for Boba Fett fans. Tongue in cheek, obviously this is leading up to the new Boba Fett show and capitalizing on that. But it's actually been a lot of fun. I've talked about I was burned out on events, but this one has been really good, really worth it. And I say check it out. Even if you're not reading every single Star Wars title, you could still appreciate this and have fun. So yeah, that's my next pick. Kirby, do you have a pick ready?
Okay. Yeah, because
Yep.
that was in no way meant to buy Kirby some time to.
Well, it's hard for me with Marvel because it's like I got ongoing, like the Deadpool Red, White, and Blood or whatever, the Kane the Conqueror has got number 2 coming out and stuff. But yeah, it's hard. The only one that I could think of that is a new one that I'm going to check out is this Dark Ages, number 1 of 6.
Mm-hmm.
A danger older than the Earth threatens everything. For once, the heroes who have saved the planet so many times are almost powerless in the face of it. X-Men and Avengers assemble. Spider People and Fantastic Four come together. Heroes for hire fight alongside champions. None of it will be enough. The lights are about to go out. The world outside our window is about to end. The only downfall I'm holding off on is because I'm assuming this is still off that whole X run where all the humans are gone or they don't care about us. And it's just all the superhumans. And so I'm hoping this is getting to the end of that story if it is off that. But I still want to check it out just to see, because I did like that last compilation of some of the characters. I can't remember what I read, but that was actually enjoyable. So maybe I might enjoy this one too. But yeah, I'm looking to see if I can find some other one that I was going to get, but I don't see any. So.
Okay,
Cool.
well, I'll do another pick.
All right.
So I jumped onto Dr. Aphra because of the War of the Bounty Hunters, and I'm actually enjoying it so far. The 2020 run is headed up by Alyssa Wong. Last week's Comic Club, I reviewed volume 1 of that trade paperback. So I'm going to throw in the Dr. Aphra series for a little while and have some fun with that. I think it's going to be Dr. Aphra number 16 coming up. So, and then not to get lost under War of the Bounty Hunters, the High Republic is still going on as well. Really appreciating that. And we have a High Republic comic. It's going to be number 9. This has been a really good series. So, again, you don't have to have read everything coming out from the High Republic. If you don't read the novels, you could just pick up this comic book series and have fun and enjoy it. It's cool because we're seeing a part of Star Wars we don't get to see a lot. And I think there's a lot of good action, and there's characters I care about, like Keith Trennis and Master Skier. I really like their story. I've enjoyed it a lot. We're seeing some new monsters, so that's always exciting. This time they're fighting something called the Drengir, and if you want to know what that is, you should check out the High Republic comics from Marvel.
All right. Anything else from Marvel come up for you, Kirby?
That War of the Bounty Hunters series I've been wanting to jump on, but they just keep coming out with so many more. So I'm just kind of like waiting to jump onto it a little bit later. But I'm not interested in it, but it's something that started me on comics back in the day, because it was some that were in with my grandpa's comics that weren't cowboy Indian, weren't military, weren't Zorro and stuff like that. But Kazar is being brought back. They're doing a whole new Kazar run now, starting that up again. They got Kazar Marvel Tales. They got a Lord of the Savage Land run going. I think that's it for now, but I have a feeling you're going to see a couple other ones pop up for that run. So if you like Kazar at all, I suggest checking that out. And then if you're a Carnage fan, they got some more Extreme Carnage one-shots popping up again this month. So that's it for my Marvel stuff.
And I have one more still spinning out of War of the Bounty Hunters. You're right. They do actually keep adding on a lot more to this. Not how I would plan a series, but that's okay. We have War of the Bounty Hunters one shot about Bausch. So if you remember in Return of the Jedi, Bausch is the persona that Princess Leia assumes to go and rescue Han Solo. And she's like, I have a thermal detonator. They're giving us a comic about that character before Princess Leia stole their clothes and their identity. I was unsure, would I trade weight these one-shot tie-ins about the kind of B-list bounty hunters, but I'm probably going to get on it anyway. Incidentally, there is a trade coming up if you'd prefer to do that. But Star Wars, War of the Bounty Hunters, Bausch, number 1 of 1.
Right. All right. Then I guess we'll move over to DC. What's new and in your eyes worth getting from DC these days?
I mean, start out.
Sure.
This one I was very excited about. I'm assuming it's what I think it is, but I'm not positive. But it's Batman versus Bigby, A Wolf in Gotham, number 1. With the blood dry at Gotham's 4th gruesome murder scene in as many weeks, Batman is stumped. The same hallmarks haunt each investigation. Brute force entries, bodies ripped to shreds, and stamped with enormous bite marks and clumps of fur, wolf fur, scattered in the wreckage. The streets buzz with rumors of the werewolf of Gotham. Determined to crack this case, Batman finds no leads and a mysterious, hairy, chain-smoking figure dodging his every move. Sounds like Wolverine. The Dark Knight's dangerously close to losing his cool when a series of bombings levels the city's libraries in the days leading up to the 32nd annual Gotham Literary Festival. As Batman narrows in on the bookworm and his literary henchmen, he discovers that an invaluable book from another world is at the center of the violence. Stranger still, the wolf is on it. But what kind of monster is built from such brains and brawn? And is he an enemy or an ally? There is an awesome Fable style game that they did on Xbox. I don't like the ones where you got to choose as you go, because half the time I can't read the stuff fast enough to choose the right thing I want to pick. And it just, that annoys me. But this was a fun Fairies Tales one. And Bigby was the head detective. He's the big bad wolf. That's why he's called Bigby. You have all the characters, just more humanized style forms from the fairy tales. And the way they're talking about this, I'm guessing that the book that the bookworm's after is a fairy tale book, and he's trying to destroy it so the fairy tales can't be in our world anymore. The fairy tale creatures is what I'm guessing. I'm really hoping that's what this is, because Bigby Werewolf character on the cover is the exact image of the character from the video game. So that made me really excited for this, and I hope that's what it is. And if it is, it's going to be a story if it's anything like the story was in the video game. Telltale series video game, those types. So,
Well, then, for your sake, I hope you're right.
And it is a
wrong,
DC.
I hope it's even better.
And with it being a DC Black Label, I've been enjoying all the Black Label comics that have been coming out. So, and I'm a Marvel fan, not a DC fan. And they're just sucking me in with these Black Labels.
Oh, historically, I've been both, Marvel and DC.
Oh yeah, I am both.
I
just usually buy more Marvel.
Yeah, and it does seem that at one time you're buying more Marvel, and then you're buying more DC or whatever. But yeah, I've never been completely more a Marvel reader or a DC reader. Anything from DC, Katie?
No, except our ongoing club pick to Batman and Scooby-Doo Mysteries.
Which again, coming up, I believe that was the 24th. We'll be talking about issue number 4. And which one is solicited in the previews?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
How many are in that run? 12?
I'm not sure. I don't know if they've ever numbered it.
All right.
Okay.
So I figured.
But just keep ordering them until they're done.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an ongoing run. I'm still running on Batman 89. I jumped on, which I haven't got number 1 yet, but number 2 is just coming out. Batman Reptilian, I read the first one. I enjoyed that. That's got number 4 coming out. I'm not sure how many they plan on that yet. But yeah,
Batman 89 is one that I would definitely be interested in. But I worry about it being disappointing.
So do I. When I seen the second cover, I'm like, I don't know. I haven't seen the story yet, but we'll see. It's like they're kind of changing up some of the characters and stuff, and it's like, stick with the 1989 versions. It's because they did great with the Red Sonja 1985, I believe it was. That was a little one shot. I loved what they did with that going back to the 80s. But then I read Vampirella 1992, expecting the same, a little fall back to 92, and they didn't do it as well as Red Sonja did. So hopefully Batman 89 will do good, though. And we'll have Michael Keaton in it. All right, my last DC one that I can see here is Suicide Squad King Shark. I'm so excited for this. I've been waiting for something King Shark to come out, and I knew they would because of the second Suicide Squad movie. But on leave from the Suicide Squad, King Shark an unfortunate tag-along, the Defacer, gets swept into a mystical tournament for totemic animal spirits at the behest of King Shark's father, the god of sharks. Now King Shark must battle brutal warriors like Queen Tiger, King Roach, Prince Nematode, Princess Peregrine, and the terrifying Man King to finally attain his destiny and make his dour dad proud. It's done by Tim Seeley, so right there, it's got to be good. but yeah, I'm really looking forward to something King Shark. Just a nice little simple run by him. Doesn't say how many it's going to be, but I'd prefer it to be like a small run. But yeah, that's all I see for DC.
All right. Katie had nothing, so I guess that wraps up the previews preview for Marvel and DC for this week. Next week we'll pick up with the independent comics coming out. But for now, those are our picks or non-picks. But if you're whatever you're interested in, whether it's something that we talked about or something that you see in the previews, by all means, order it up, and hopefully you will not be disappointed. Okay. So that wraps up this week's episode. We should be back next week if all goes well. I know we've missed a few weeks lately, which is pretty much unheard of. It seems like we always try to, no matter who's available, to put out some sort of an episode and keep the podcast going. I think previously we'd missed like one episode at one point, and then we recently missed like 2 back-to-back. So we got to keep them going. We're only a handful of episodes away from the big 200, which is nothing for Kirby, because that's a drop in the bucket.
I know I had to triple the length and add extra episodes just to keep it going for you.
So we do have some other podcasts that we recommend. We've got Under the Cowl, which has been on hiatus as I got a new job and whatever, and I'm trying to sort out my schedule to see if maybe we will or maybe we won't come back to doing that and when. But there are always the back issues, so to speak, of those of that podcast, which you can find in podcast form or on YouTube and our YouTube feed. And then we have Kirby's Under the Cowl of MS, where you talk about the struggles of MS and pretty much anything else that is on your mind at the time, right?
Yeah, whatever I can cover, find.
But never a shortage of material to discuss on that podcast. And when are you going to start YouTubing that one?
If I could figure it out, I would be already. I am thinking about trying to do something with a video here pretty soon, but I have a feeling it's going to be end up more Instagram-ish or something like that.
All right. So check out those podcasts, and we'll be back next week for another one. Otherwise, this whole time I've been doing my best to fill in for Anthony.
Bucks in 6. Bucks in 6.
And I'm Katie.
To be continued.